So this is how they ship the Telecaster kit from the Fretwire. And I was just going to open it so you guys can all see how it's packed when they ship this, because some of these parts are kind of fragile. So we'll go ahead and start opening this up. Grain is actually very nice on this one. I did order 2 kits. One of them's for my buddy, and he's going to go with a natural stain on his. So I think this is the guitar I'll give him, because a lot of the wood grain is very straight and it has a little bit of pattern to it. And the other one I already opened and it's sort of just kind of bland. So I will give this one to him, and I'm going to go ahead and use the other kit since I will be painting it. So I do think this body has already been sanded, but there are some parts on it that are a little bit hairy and a little bit fuzzy still. I don't think it's been sanded up into the finer grits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand starting at 400 grit sandpaper on a block, and I'm doing this just to really smooth things out before I spray any kind of finish on this. Searching through all the different color chip books, looking through colors, seeing if I can find one that I think will look good on the guitar. I settled on this orange color, and it's actually a Kia color. It's called Techno Orange. And the color code for this is D2A, and I went ahead and searched that in the database, and I found a formula for it. And I'm not in my main workshop right now, so this is just the way I do things here, but in my workshop I have a paint mixer. This would be a lot quicker. My workshop isn't really set up to be spraying down guitar bodies in here, so I went ahead and hung a bunch of plastic sheeting up to try to catch as much of the overspray as I can and make sort of a hack together paint booth in here. I got the body hanging up. It's been dusted off. I went ahead and I stuffed a bunch of plastic bags into the F-hole. That way I don't get overspray inside, because I want that to be wood grain in there. So around here, I'll show you guys what I got going on for the paint. This is the line that I sell. It's Perfect Coat Automotive Refinishes. And the Perfect Coat paint reduces 1:1. I'm going to go ahead and use a standard reducer. It's getting warm here in Michigan, so I'm going to go ahead and mix that in a mixing cup. And then I'll pour it through a filter into my HVLP gun. It's important that you have a good quality respirator whenever you're spraying automotive refinishes or any kind of finish. Okay, I'm gonna have to backtrack a little bit because I kind of screwed something up there when I did the first couple coats base coat. What I did was I never sealed the guitar body. So what was happening is the base coat was just sucking right into the wood like a sponge, and the metallic wasn't standing up, so it was looking really awful. Just a very flat, uneven paint job, wasn't covering it all, and I should have used a sealer, you know, so. And real quick, I'll talk about why I chose not to seal the body before I did the base coat. I did that because the sealer that I have, it's 6234. It comes in a little sample can like this, but it does come in a gallon for retail. But it's that color right there. It's a very gray, it's like primer. It does a great job, but when you seal something, I had a couple spots here, right there in the F-hole. I have it kind of back taped, and I did not want to get any sort of sealer creep. And that's where you see the gray sealer, because it gets in tighter spots than the base coat will, and you'll see like a layer of the gray and then the orange on top of it. And also the main reason was I'm going to scrape the binding once the paint job is done, and I didn't want to see that layer of gray and then orange. Now, I could have done a couple things to get around this and still seal it before I did any paint. I could have just sealed it with a clear coat, that same stuff, the PC 6000. That would have done a great job sealing it if I had done that first and let it sit just on the bare wood for a couple days before spraying the base coat. It would have looked great. Another thing I could have done is I could have actually tinted that sealer with the orange base coat to get it closer to this color, and that would have worked great as well. But what I ended up doing is I mixed in that same base coat with clear coat, and I actually used this stuff, Perfect Coat PC6000. It's an extra fast clear coat. It dries real quick. And I tinted that with that orange base coat, and I sprayed that right on top of what I had already done to the guitar. So now it's sealed in and it's covering much better. I let that sit for a couple days. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and dust it over with some more base coat to really cover and everything the rest of the way and make sure I'm really getting that metallic effect. I think I said it already, but I'll say it again. Always wear a respirator when you're spraying finish. You get way too many people playing the safety police on my videos. I forgot to turn the camera on, but I did just spray on a coat of clear coat over the base coat. But this is how we're looking after one coat of clear coat. I applied the final coat of that clear coat a little over a week ago. It's been sitting, hardening up. Now we're going to go to the next step and polish out the finish. So this is what the final coat looks like, and you can see I have a lot of texture. It's nothing horrible, but I am going to wet sand this out to get rid of that, and then I'll polish it up to a mere shine. And to do that, I'm going to be using all of these things in front of me. I've just got all the wet sandpaper. I'm going to start at 1,000 grit, move up to 1,500 and 2,000. And then from there, I'm going to go to a polisher with Wizard's Mistacut compound. This polisher is a very small, it's a 3-inch air-powered polishing tool that I got in a kit from Harbor Freight for a little over 30 bucks. It comes with this, the backing pad, and 2 foam pads, as well as a wool buffing pad inside. So after the wet sandpaper, I'm going to start applying the compound with the orange foam pad, which is the coarser of the two. And then I'm going to move on and finish it with the white waffle pad. We're not quite there yet. There are still some low spots where the finish is still glossy. So I'm going to wet sand just a little bit more, and once everything's flattened off, then we'll move on to the higher grits. So I'm about to start my last grit. It's 2,000, and I should have mentioned before that I'm actually using this little paint stick wrapped with masking tape, and that's all I'm using for a sanding block. I did have a foam flexible hand pad laying around, but I can't find it, so I'm just using that to get by for now. And another thing I forgot to mention is when I named my grits, I just went from 1,000 to 1,500, and I forgot that I have a grit in between. It's 1,200, so I did do that before as well. So now we'll start our last grit, and then we can start buffing. So I'm just kind of working in one small section at a time. And I'm slowly working my way around all the edges, and then I sort of jump in the middle. But it's important to kind of stay in one spot. That way you know you've done everything, rather than go at it in a completely random pattern. This is what we look like after all the wet sanding. You can see all the texture has been sanded right out. There's still a little bit of dusting of these glossy spots here or there. You can see some in the front, and I'd have to sand a lot longer to get those out, and once you buff it, you're not going to notice them. They're going to kind of hide in the gloss. But right now everything is flat. Everything is wet sanded through to 2000. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some of that compound on that orange waffle foam pad, and I'm going to go ahead and start buffing this out. So I just wiped off the excess compound to see what kind of surface that left me with, and it did buff up to an alright shine. That was just the orange waffle pad. Now I switched out, I went to the finer of the two, the white one. I'm going to go ahead and re-wet this with compound and buff it up and hopefully get that shine up just a little bit more. So I just finished on the final polishing on the top of the guitar, and this is what we're looking at. You can actually see the reflection of my phone in the body of the guitar, but it came out really great. This is what the neck looks like, and for the headstock you have to cut out your own design because it's just a rough plank at the end. So what I've done is I sort of went with the original Telecaster pattern, but I added a little flared piece right here that I really like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the bandsaw, and I'll cut that shape out, and then I will sand it on the belt and spindle sander. So for each one of the machine heads, you have these three parts: a small screw for the underside to secure it to the body, a washer, and then this nut piece.
Again.
When I do.